When you change the oil in your car, two things you want to do. One, you want to make sure it's on level ground. And two, you want to crank it up and get the engine warm, especially if it's been sitting overnight. You want to warm that engine up so the oil will get warm and thin out a little bit so it drains better. Go up under the car and find your oil drain plug. Right here it says engine oil, and that's your drain plug. Get your container to drain your oil with, and if you don't have one from the store, make you one. You take your old gallon oil container, cut top out of it, and make you a container. You see in my other videos, you'll see some of these homemade containers. Take your socket or a wrench and loosen that boat head. Loosen that boat head, slide your container up on it to catch your oil. Let it flow. When I drain oil, I also take your oil filler cap off. Might not make much of a difference. I just want to make sure that it drains well. It doesn't take long for your oil to drain, but what I do, I usually just go and do something else. Give me a snack, or maybe work on something else. Maybe, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. It doesn't take long for it to drain. While your oil is draining, which I let mine drain for a few minutes, and then go to your oil filter, screw it off. Oil filter shouldn't be on there so tight that you couldn't hand twist it. They do make filter tools to screw your filter off if you need it. Screw that filter off and let that drain for a few minutes. Move your container over and catch that oil when you pull your filter off. And once you gave it some time and you no longer see anything running out, or maybe just a real slow drip, then it's time to put it back together. What I do, when I get ready to put everything back together, I give me a rag or paper napkin or something and clean up that oil that's in run down places. Like on your filter housing, wipe that down good. That's your filter housing right there. So I take and wipe that down and clean it up before I put my filter back on. If you got your filter housing cleaned up, get your new filter, get ready to put it back on. Open your new oil, take you a little bit, rub around the rim of your filter. Take your new filter, get back to that filter housing, screw it back on. Get it good and snug, hand tight. Clean your drain plugs up and inspect this washer to make sure that it's not all cracked up, because if it's all worn out and cracked up, you got to go to a store and get a new one. Pull your drain container out of the way. Get back up on your car and clean around where your drain plug goes. After you got this clean, put your drain bolt back in. After you hand tighten it, get your wrench or your socket, snug it up. Only thing's left, put your oil back in. Pull your dipstick out, clean it off real good, so when you do put your oil in there, you can check it. Get you a funnel and pour your oil in. Check your specs to see exactly how many quarts of oil your particular automobile would take. I pour it down to get down to this 1 quart line, and then check my dipstick. Screw your oil filler cap back on. Put your dipstick back in and check the field line. I'm going to crank the car up, let the oil circulate, because you got to allow for the oil going into the filter. Then I go back and check my dipstick again. Crank the car up and let it run for a minute or so, and then we'll check the dipstick again. After I let the car run for a minute or so, I turn it off and let it set for another few minutes and let everything settle. Check my dipstick. Wipe it down. Stick it back in there. Pull it back out. And right there, good to go at my line. I just take the flap off of the oil filter box and just write all my information on it. Time and date and the day and the mileage, and just throw it in the glove box so I can keep up with it. I do recycle oil, but not the way you may think. I just put this oil in one of these containers and keep it for later and put in stuff like my chainsaw for my bar chain oil. What's the point in paying $10 to $20 for some bar chain oil in your chainsaw when I can just use this? All you need is some lubrication. I won't put in a new chainsaw and void my warranty. If the chainsaw is no longer new, then I will put it in my chainsaw for my bar chain oil.